Hello aspirants, welcome you all once again with another video series on the fundamental rights, and today we will be discussing some of the most important articles. Please pay attention, and without any further ado, let's begin. So the question number 1 or the question 34 of this particular video lecture series on fundamental rights, we'll be discussing starting with the article 23, which is the right against or prohibition on human trafficking, right? So the question says, what does traffic in human beings include? The answer, of course, there are four important aspects which you have to keep in mind. First is trafficking of women and children, forced prostitution, begar, and forced labor. Also, pay attention to the definition that has been given in the Lakshmikant with respect to what begar is, and also with respect to enforcing this particular right or this particular prohibition. The government of India has also the government basically has enacted few important acts. These acts are also very important: Bonded Labor Act, Minimum Wages Act, Contract Labor Act, and Equal Remuneration Act as well. So this is one thing you have to keep in mind. And also there are few important exceptions as well, which we will see in the next question. Can the state impose compulsory military or social services in let's say defining or let's say even without giving any pay or whatever, because we are talking about human trafficking, and begar for that matter, the definition means that you're keeping someone for work without paying them, and it is like you're just paying. You're not giving them the right remuneration that they require. So that's what Article 23 also subsumes the fact that you should also give the right compensation to the person whom you're hiring. On that basis, there are few exceptions as well, and that's why this question: can state impose compulsory on military and social services? And the answer is yes. Such services is permitted under Article 23 and does not violate Article 23 as well. Next question: does Article 25 cover beliefs and practices, and is it available to foreigners? So now, what is Article 25? Very, very important article, and the series of articles after Article 25 is absolutely important and also slightly confusing. So it is very important you read them with utmost attention. Well, Article 25 talks about the right of an individual, right of an individual, a particular individual, to propagate, practice, and also profess his religion. The right to propagate, practice, and profess his own religion, and also right of, or let's say freedom of conscience. Freedom of conscience is to have the right to think or to pray or even to idolize anything as a god to himself, within himself, right? So it is not necessary that he has to idolize what is pretty much common around in the society. So he can even for him, whatever he feels is god, he can do it, like the right, the freedom of conscience. Whatever is right to his conscience, he can think that is god, he can believe in that. So that right to conscience, right to, or let's say freedom of conscience, right to propagate, right to practice, and right to profess is what Article 25 talks about. And one of the important feature of Article 25, you have to keep in mind that this is the right given to an individual, or for that matter, all individuals. Okay, all individuals. And now, is it available to foreigners? And the answer is yes, because it is talking about the right to profess, right to propagate, right to practice one's religion. So it is available to both the Indian citizens and also the foreigners. However, there are some important exceptions here, so certain important features that you have to keep in mind. Right to profess or right to propagate does not mean that you have the right to convert for that matter, forceful conversion. Okay, forceful conversion is going to abrogate someone's right to, or let's say someone's freedom of conscience, right? When you're like forcefully trying to convert someone, it is directly inflicting the freedom of conscience of that particular person, right? So that's one of the important exception of this Article 25, which you have to keep in mind. And yes, of course, Article 25 covers both religious beliefs, practices, and is available to all persons, including foreigners as well. So this just does not talk about the religious beliefs, but also the practices, how the practices should happen. So that is also one of the important point. Next is clarify the statements on Article 25 and Hindus. So while speaking about the right to profess, propagate, and practice one's religion, it also talks about the terms. For example, even what or which are the communities which are classified as Hindus. So that is also exceptionally given in Lakshmikant. And for legal purposes, Hindus, the classifications are six: Jains and Buddhists. Like even they also include, six Jains and Buddhists also includes as Hindus. And also another important exception is wearing kirpans by Sardarjis, especially from the Sikh community, is also protected under the same article, Article 25, which is also very important. You have to keep in mind. Next question: what conditions must a religious denomination satisfy? So, of course, this is Article 26, which we are talking about. So, Article 26 talks about the religion denomination as a whole. Article 25, on the other hand, talks about the individual right, individual freedom to practice one's own religion, profess and propagate one's own religion. But Article 26, on the other hand, talks about the religious denomination, the whole community for that matter, right? And who can classify themselves as a religious community. Certain classifications, certain provisions are given. So that is what this article says. And there are three important aspects which one must follow. First is they should have common faith. A group of people who has to call themselves a religious community or religious denomination must satisfy these three conditions. First is they should have common faith. Next is they should belong to a common organization, or they should have a common organization. And then they should also have distinctive name as well. And yes, another important thing, all these three must have classifications. Is it given by the Constitution? The answer is no. It is laid down by the Supreme Court. So wherever Supreme Court is mentioned in the Lakshmikant, especially your fundamental rights chapter, please pay utmost attention, and that is where the UPSC is going to probably set a trap for you guys. Okay, because in place of Supreme Court, it is very easy for the UPSC to just replace the word Supreme Court with Constitution, and this will pretty much look the same. And for beginners who do not have the clarity, you will obviously go wrong there. Right? So basically, all these provisions are being laid down by the Supreme Court: common faith, common organization, and distinctive name. And also, in stating all of this, or in accordance to these provisions, it also gave certain recognition to your Ramakrishna mission and all of those things. And also, there's another thing: Aurobindo Society is also not considered as a religious denomination. See, all these things are mentioned in Lakshmikant. Please make sure you read them thoroughly, and these are the important things that you have to take care of. Okay, and another striking feature of Article 26 and 25, that is Article 26 talks about the individual religious practices, and Article 25 talks about Article 25 talks about the individual religious practices, and Article 26 talks about the whole religious denomination as a community or as a whole, or what are the provisions which classifies one particular community as a religious denomination. Okay, next is, can the state spend public money on a religion? So this is Article 27. Answer is no. Public funds cannot be used to promote religion. And the answer is, it is not completely all religion. Thing is, public funds cannot be used to promote any one particular religion. Okay, that is the correct statement. So no tax money can be used for the progress or for the implementation of certain things for one particular religion. Rather, it is allowed that the state can utilize the funds to promote all the religions. That is correct. That is not the abrogation of the fundamental rights. But rather, if the state is using the public funds to only support one particular religious community, then that is violating Article 27. However, fees can be levied on certain things to regulate secular activities of religious institutions. So, levying tax is prohibited. It is violating the fundamental right. And on the other hand, levying fees is something that is possible. So this is also one of the important things with respect to 27. Next is, when is religious instruction permitted or prohibited? When is the religious instruction permitted or prohibited? So prohibited in state funded. So basically this is Article 28. Okay, very important. Prohibited in state funded. So all those institutions which is wholly funded by the state, those kind of education institutes, yes, it can be prohibited, that no religious instructions can be given. And also, however, it is permitted in private institutions, conditional in institutions administered by trusts. Matlab certain trusts, they'll have certain conditions, and based on those conditions they can do it. However, it is completely prohibited in the state funded educational institutes, which you have to keep in mind. Next is, can admission be denied under Article 29 on grounds of sex? Yes, the answer is correct. Article 29 prohibits discrimination only on religion, race, caste, and language, not sex. So, Article 29, what is it? It talks about the protection is, which is given to the minorities, and minorities is the word mentioned in the constitution, or let's say is the word defined in the constitution. The answer is no, it is not. Well, Article 29 is also one of the important articles. There are important differences between Article 29 and Article 30. Very important to pay attention there. Please go check. Right. However, Article 29 prohibits discrimination only on religion, race, caste, or language, not sex. Next question: do Article 29, 30 apply only to minorities? The answer is Article 29 apply to all the citizens of the country, all sections of the citizens, while Article 30 applies only to the minority. So once again, this has been given by whom? By the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said clearly, Article 29, it has mentioned that Supreme Court clearly said that minorities does not restricted to one particular minority community. Rather, it refers to all the sections of the citizens, right? However, since it consumes or subsumes everything under minorities, like all the sections of the societies, Article 30 is something that only talks about the minorities. Article 30 specifically talks about minorities, but Article 29, although it is under the protection, or although it is that article which is under the ambient to protect the minorities, it talks about all sections of citizens. And most important thing, another important thing which is pretty much in current affairs, so Article 29, it even gives the right to protect one's language, right? Even protection of language is also allowed and permitted under Article 29, and even right to agitate. In order to protect one's language, even right to agitate is also permitted under Article 29. And using language as one of, or let's say using the idea to protect one's language as one of their political manifestation by political parties, even that is also to some extent not considered as a malpractice or not considered as something illegal. So even that is also allowed. So Article 29, this is pretty much in use, because every town now and again, especially the last year, a lot of things happened, especially with respect to language fights, be it in Karnataka, be it in Maharashtra, right? So hence Article 29 very important. UPSC might ask that which particular fundamental right does, or let's say the right to agitate for the protection of language, right, is protected under which particular fundamental rights. You should know it is Article 29. Okay, it is not Article 21, or it is not any other article, but Article 29, right? Well, I think that's all for this particular video. We will do one more last video to just talk about the Article 32, and we will talk about certain rights, and also we'll talk about some of the important dimensions of the fundamental rights, some of the important pointers for the prelims specifically. Anyway, that's all for this particular video. I hope you have liked the video. Anyway, signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.